Well, hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm Richard. This is Lap of the World. That is my 1992 Acura NSX, and today we're going to be aligning one of its CV joints. Do what, you ask? Stick around. So while consulting the great oracle that is the NSX Prime Forum, link below, if you are an NSX owner, you owe it to yourself to bookmark that site and its forum because it has an encyclopedic knowledge of the car. If you have a question about your car, it's been answered on there already, I promise. Anyway, so I was browsing the forum in search of, my annual search for why I have this one weird vibration that only happens at speeds over like 80 or 90 miles an hour. So I only notice it, on the long straight at the track or whatever it is that I've never been able to chase down. It's persisted through different wheels and tires. I've replaced all the ball joints in the car since I've discovered this. I've never been able to track it down. But while I was browsing the forum, I stumbled across something talking about CV alignment. So today we're going to talk about A, why is CV alignment even a thing? B, how to inspect these CV joints on your NSX without taking anything apart to see if they are aligned correctly. And then C, if you, like me, discover that one of yours is not lined correctly indeed, then how to actually take the stuff apart that's necessary to realign them and put them back together. So, first, why is this even a thing? CV joints don't usually have an alignment issue. Well, that's because the NSX uses a tripod style CV joint rather than the other common style, which is the Shepa joint, which is spelled Rzepa, but I think the correct Polish pronunciation, if the internet is correct, is Shepa joint. So that's what I'm going to call it. If you're Polish and that's wrong, then please correct me. But because this one uses tripods, or little spiders as the shop manual calls them, there is actually a way for those to be misaligned because they are used on both the inboard and outboard CV on the NSX. So that's what we're trying to inspect, and the shop spec calls for them to be offset by 60 degrees, and there's a way that you can tell, at least to an extent, if they are aligned or misaligned correctly. So we've made our way under the car. You'll note I haven't even pulled the wheel off. All I've done is jack it up. You might even be able to do this with an inspection mirror without even jacking the car up. But we are interested in primarily in these cups right here. So there's one cup here. This is the outboard cup, and then we have the inboard cup is up here coming out of the transmission. And you can see there are some low and high spots on the cups, and we're looking to make sure that those should be offset from each other. So if we're looking at where that low spot is right there, I'll put a little arrow on the screen, and then we come down here, we see that in approximately the same position, we have a high spot. And that is what you want. That's what you want to see. You want to see the high spot on one end lined up with a low spot on the other end. If that's the case, then you're probably good. So unlike the driver's side half shaft that we just looked at, when I inspected the passenger side half shaft of my car, it was wrong. The spiders looked like they were lined up with each other. I'll verify that once we have it off the car, which incidentally is the next step. What I'll show you next is how to actually take it off the car, and we will do that via montage. Okay, so now that we have this guy off the car, let me explain to you why I suspect we have an alignment issue between the CV joints. I'm looking at these casings, and they have high spots and low spots on them around their circumference. I'll kind of give you a close-up so you can see what I'm talking about there. And if you look at the service manual, again, I'll put up a screenshot here, you'll see that inside these things there are some spiders, or little like three-toed, yeah, sure, spiders. They have 3 prongs on them that slot into grooves and bearings on the inside of these cups. And you can tell where those grooves are by virtue of there being a bump out to accommodate the raceway there. Now, in the service manual, it specifies that these have to be offset by 60 degrees. So, you know, the spiders should kind of look like that. If you look at them online, again, I'll show you, I'll put a screenshot over my stupid hand gesture there. So it actually makes sense. But you can tell that without actually taking anything apart just by looking at the cups. So again, they have this bump out here, and I have a bump out here. Those should not be directly across from each other with respect to the length of the axle here. They should be offset. So I should have a bump out, or if I have a bump out here, I should have a low spot over here, and that is currently not the case. And I suspect that is probably what is potentially at fault for the vibration that I've been chasing since I don't know when. And, you know, I know that these have been rebuilt at some point in time. I think back in like 2010, 2009, sometime like that. And I know where it was done. You know, I'm not going to share that because nobody has to worry about this particular outfit working on your car right now, although I'm surprised at the mistake, we'll put it that way. But, you know, mistake found, let's see if we can fix it. So my goal is to not mess with this side very much and do my changes over there, because I know the guts of this are a little more complex than the guts of the inboard side. Sorry, it's my light dying there, but you can still see what I'm talking about. So anyway, that's the plan. I'm going to recharge a light, and then we'll get to taking this thing apart. All right, folks, and upon review, it is exactly as I suspected / feared. As you can see on this end, where I've kind of gotten things cleaned off a little bit, you have these little pucks over here, and these are actually bearings. I'm not going to touch it because I've actually got gloves over my gloves right now because I've been touching this stuff and didn't want to get grease on the camera. But you have these little roller bearings here that fit into the grooves on the cup right there and travel in and out, and that's what allows the CV joint to do its job. But as you can see over here, where the manual specifies these things should be offset, they are in fact in line or close to it. They're not even perfectly in line, if I'm honest. See if it'll focus on that real quick. So you can see this guy, again, kind of covered in schmoo, but that's like the center line of it right there. And move straight down here, and we see we have this guy basically in line with it. He's maybe offset by a few degrees, but not the 60 degrees specified by the manual. So, having said that, this guy is still well packed, so I'm probably going to do the best I can to retain all the grease in here. Some of it has kind of spilled out, but I'm going to go ahead and boot him back up and then make my change on this side. You will need a gear puller to remove the spiders. Mine went back on with some light encouragement from a mallet. Don't forget to remove the snap ring before attempting to pull the spider off the shaft. All right, so we have now finished rebooting and strapping this side. I will say, before you tackle this job yourself, you're going to want to invest in maybe a box or two of your preference of nitrile or latex gloves, because axle grease is maybe the messiest possible substance that you can handle. It has the propensity to propagate through your garage environment of anti-seize, but the adhesive properties of I don't even know what. It gets everywhere and sticks to everything. But that is, say, we now have a proper alignment here, so we can get some focus here. So we have the middle of this high point here now lines up with the low point, or as close as I could get it to perfectly in between these two little spider legs here. Now the next thing I'm going to do is put my bearing pucks back on here. Now don't worry, if you take yours apart, yours will look different. This is a kit I got from, I think, Driving Ambition about 10 years ago with some sort of beefier thick boy bearings here, because I figured I was going to be tracking the car, so I may as well. So I'm going to put those on the spiders, put the spiders back in the cup, put some grease in the cup, and for that grease I have procured some Redline CV2 to use in there as a little bit of an upgraded grease. Whatever they sent with Driving Ambition was the stickiest of the icky and has survived just fine. I felt no need to repack this end because the grease was still very tacky and viscous. However, this end, however, was a little bit light on grease, which I'm a little surprised at. Again, I did not do this rebuild, but this end was a little bit light on grease, so I will be packing it with the Redline fluid or the Redline grease at the recommendation of several folks in the NSX community, at least a couple of which have some serious business race cars. So I anticipate it will be good enough for my needs. Now, the NSX shop manual calls for about 170 to 180 grams of grease. This tube that I've got here, 14 ounces, is about 400 grams. So I've put a little less than half of the tube into this, and then we're going to now stick this in there, deal with whatever schmooze out, and then we'll get it strapped back up before we put it back on the car. Now, normally this is where I would take you along with me on a test drive to validate that our change has actually fixed our vibration. But as I said before, this vibration kind of happens at a very entertaining speed. And, you know, the border to Mexico is closed on account of the pandemic, and my next track day isn't until January. And honestly, on top of that, I actually have several other things that I need to take care of while I have the car kind of already down for maintenance. And up in the air and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of those items, which is probably be the next video or two that you watch from here. But that is where we are going to call an end to today's episode of Why Things Can't Just Be Easy. So until my next bout of mechanical misfortune or otherwise, please, I hope you found this informative, if not entertaining, to follow along with. And, you know, maybe it helps you track down your own weird vibration that happens at a specific, fairly high speed. Anyway, that's where we're leaving it today. I appreciate you watching. If you made it to this point, you are a hero. And until next time, I'm Richard. This is still Lap of the World, and I will see you all in the next video, if not at the track.